Alright, so I'm out for a morning stroll here in Galway, having a look around. It's a bit overcast, but otherwise it's actually quite pleasant. Yeah, so Galway. Yeah, I mean, the first thing you could say about Galway as you're driving in, and you think the traffic is pretty bad in the greater Dublin area, and it is, especially obviously M50 and so on. Galway is another level again. It really is. Okay. Okay. Little Jack Russell just tried to bite me. How about that? That's a nice wake-up call. Just as I'm on the phone as well. It's kind of surprising. Unexpected. She doesn't bite, says the lady. That's good to know. Yeah, I'm not generally afraid of dogs. But yeah, it's never nice to get sort of half attacked by a dog, even if it's a little guy. But anyway, I'm fine. Yeah, didn't bite or anything like that. His bark was worse than his bite. Is that a mosque? Holy, that's a mosque. Bloody hell. Okay, I wasn't expecting to see that. Galway has changed. Love for all, hatred for none. Okay, guys. If you say so. Practice what you preach. Would be a good maxim there, wouldn't it? But anyway. Yeah, so Galway. So yeah, the sort of outer fringes of Galway, you could say, Galway City. Anyway, getting back to where I was, so yeah, a lot of traffic getting in and out of Galway. It is hardcore, it really is. It's I'd heard it was bad, but I wasn't expecting it to be that bad. Yeah. But obviously the town itself, you know, the centre, the river, it's lovely, you know. I mean, there's a lot to be said for Galway. It's obviously got the coastline. It's got Salt Hill, the promenade. As I'm sure you've seen the Unbroken Man's videos. I mean, it is a lovely part of the country. It is a shame about the congestion and the traffic and so on, and just the massive increase in population, obviously, which is a big part of it. And of course, a lot of that comes from, well, most of it comes from non-stop, relentless mass immigration. And that's, you know, that's the crux of the problem, really, isn't it? Because, you know, you hear about your economy. Even yesterday morning in Newstalk, Shane Coleman talking about immigration, and he immediately shoots it down, as a lot of these people do. I mean, you can just hear yourself. This is just non-stop. And it's only, what is it, 7:20 in the morning? It's not even that early. Well, it is early enough, but you know what I mean. It's 10 years ago, I'd say, walking along here at 7:15, you wouldn't have a relentless stream of traffic. But now you do. I'm not sure what the population of Galway is, but it has increased a lot in the last 15-20 years. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying, so Shane Coleman and Newstalk, and you know what you're going to get from him. Like, he's a constant supporter of globalism, you know. Ireland is, what is Ireland? It's an economy, you know. Ireland's an economy, and this is always how people like this think. Ireland is a, you know, an entity, a piece of land, but not much more than that. You know, this is what you're dealing with. This is kind of why we have, in a sense, this is why we have the problems we have. The Neil Redmonds of this world, the neoliberals, progressives. I mean, it is how can you financialise Ireland? How can you maximally financialise Ireland, to get the best RTI, best return on investment. This is how these people see Ireland. And so long as, so many people in positions of power and influence in Ireland have this worldview, we're going to continue with these problems of non-stop, massive levels of immigration, which nobody ever voted for, nobody ever consented to, nobody ever asked for, and yet we're getting it anyway. And look, of course we need a certain amount, and everyone can see that. Everyone can see that certain industries, healthcare, retail, to an extent, the hospitality industry, construction to an extent, but I wonder, is that overblown? I mean, I think, okay, a certain amount of our tradesmen have gone overseas, but if the government really wanted to, they could entice them back, but they're not bothered, So long as you have this open door, this endless supply, the reserve army of labour, which Mark spoke about, then, they're happy with that, they're fine with that. They don't necessarily need Irish people to come back. I mean, they've made some kind of trite kind of comments in that regard, but nothing substantial. Ultimately, we're all economic units, interchangeable economic units. That is who we are as Irish people in the eyes of people like Shane Coleman, of people like Neil Redmond, of people like, Roderick O'Gorman, of people like Holly Cairns. Like, this is how they see us, interchangeable economic units that can be just swapped in and out. And that's this is why we're in the situation we're in, where Ireland's population is absolutely exploding in recent years, and it was already increasing by quite a bit over the previous 20 years as well, 25 years, really from the mid to late 90s onwards. And like I said, a certain amount of that immigration is needed because our economy was inflated, was opened up, and obviously that comes with, there's some good aspects to that, but the flip side of it is, and especially if you overdo it, which our government did for the last few decades, they've over-egged the souffle, or whatever you want to call it. They weren't happy with, modest economic growth. They needed rampant economic growth. They wanted the maximal amount of economic growth, maximum GDP. That's what they wanted, and this is why we're in the situation we're in. Non-stop, massive levels of immigration in recent years, and pretty damn high in the previous 20-25 years before that. And this is why you have massive congestion in places like Galway, and really across all the cities in Ireland, and quite a few of the towns as well. But also, on a broader level, you just have these demographic issues, of places being completely transformed, of cities, towns, and even villages absolutely transformed into places that resemble nothing like what they did 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And it's not even that, I know places move on, houses are built, apartments are built, you get new facilities, new shops. That's, a certain amount of that is absolutely fine, don't get me wrong. But when all of that is being done to facilitate this expansive demographic transformation, this inflow of really very high levels of immigration, again, which nobody ever voted for, then that's a problem. Nobody in any country, be it Ireland or anywhere else, should have their country demographically transformed without any consent whatsoever being given by the general public. That is what's happened to Ireland, and this is why you have protests. This is why you have the occasional, the riots that have happened. Like, you could say certain night pass centres or whatever, and certain events like the RAPE of a young girl, and the stabbing of young girls, and a teacher, I think it was, outside that college in the centre of Dublin a couple of years ago. You could say these are the flashpoints, these are the trigger points for these riots to happen. But to call these rioters far right is, I mean, it's, you know, these people are not even operating at that level. They're not ideological. They're not thinking in terms of right, left, or far right. And no, these are just toe rags. These are just little fucking scumbags. Let's be honest, that's what they are. And they would kick off at any opportunity. And when they see a chance to have a go at the police, that's what they're going to do. They're going to take that opportunity with both arms, and they're just going to cause havoc. And that's what's going on. You know, these little runts, I mean, they will just take that chance to cause absolute chaos. You know, whatever the situation is, whether it be the water protests. Now, there was a little bit of that in the water protests too, not as bad obviously, but you know, the thing then in Dublin several years ago with the orange parades and all that was another example. There's always going to be scumbags around. There's always going to be these little lowlifes hanging around, and they will take that chance to cause maximal damage. You know, they're always there. You're not going to get rid of them. You know, but these are not far right. These are not far right protesters. These are nothing like that. They're just little fucking scumbags. That's all they are. You know. Anyway. But regardless of that, you know, the protests at the iPass centres over the last 2.5 years, like, the only reason they exist is because the government have acted in a completely undemocratic fashion. Almost you could say in a tyrannical fashion, authoritarian fashion, and have forced these centres onto the people of these towns and villages with zero consent, with zero discussion. Just planted them there, sometimes hundreds of mostly young men from all over, you know, often outside of Europe, a lot of the time of Muslim background. But the point is, you know, they're coming in large numbers. Nobody asked for it. They've been forced on the people of these towns and villages. You know, people from very different cultures, nearly all men, and almost none of them with any kind of legitimate case for asylum, you know. And that's another aspect of it. It's the totally sort of exploitation of the system. That's another reason it gets people angry. You know, people can see these are chancellors. People can see these are spoofers. Come on. You know, we're not stupid. Let's cut the bullshit. People can see what's going on. You can see the rampant exploitation and gaming of the system by these spoofers. People can see that. Is it any wonder people are angry? Come on. It's not hard. The government should fucking see this. Like, they could stop this problem overnight if they wanted to. The answers are there. We've seen what Denmark have done. The example is there. Just do what Denmark does. Game over. Done. Problem solved. In a matter of weeks, or maximum a matter of a couple of months. Problem done and dusted, sorted. Over.